If you're watching this, you likely have suffered a terrible loss. You've lost someone due to the negligence of another person. That can be through a car accident, it could be through a construction accident, it could be even a farming accident. And you have my condolences. What a horrible thing to experience. If you have had this experience, or if you're living it now, I think there are two basic things to keep in mind as you try to get your head around what's happening to you and your family. The first is that the state of Wisconsin recognizes what we call a wrongful death claim. It's actually two different claims that are from two different statutes, and it's complicated. There are claims for all kinds of damages and losses that can result when you lose a family member. The second thing, and I think that's equally important to keep in mind as you go through this process, is that you will have questions. This is a very challenging kind of case to prosecute. Make sure that you reach out to a law firm that has had lots of experience in handling these kind of cases. Atterbury Kammer Hague has handled literally dozens, if not more, of these cases over the years. There are only two lawyers in the firm, myself and Eric Hague. We have probably, each of us combined, handled probably 100 of these cases to help the families who've gone through these horrible situations to get to the other side. One thing I can assure you is that if you do hire us, we will never lose sight of the fact that you've suffered a real tragedy, that you've had a loss that is hard to even measure. We'll do our best to at least see that your economic losses are met, and we'll do our best to see that you get some measure of justice for what you've gone through. The field of wrongful death law is unfortunately complicated, and the reason it's complicated is because it's a creation of statute. It's something that our legislature put together, and there are several different sections of the statute that affect this type of law. So if you've unfortunately experienced a loss, if a beloved family member has passed, was killed in a car accident or some other tragedy, there are several parts of the law that will affect your ability to make a claim and to be compensated for what you've gone through. Some parts, for example, there is the measure of the relationship, which is a hard thing to get your mind around, that the law will compensate you for the relationship that you had with the deceased. That is called society companionship. That species, that type of damage is actually capped in our statutes. Then there's a whole other category of damages which I like to consider and lump them together as economic losses, and that can be things like funeral and burial to medical expenses, but most importantly, and probably most impactfully on people who've gone through this horrible experience, is the loss of earnings. If you lost a loved one who was earning a living to help support your household, that's now gone. And what happens? Well, that's a very complicated question, and it requires good legal counsel to be able to thread through these different statutes and also to prove adequately that the measure of the losses. We call this a future loss of earning capacity, and that's not simply a matter of grabbing timesheets and tax returns. It's a complicated analysis that we're required to go through to adequately prove your claim. So if you've had the unfortunate experience of losing a loved one, please make sure at the very least that you hire and talk to experienced lawyers, people who've handled many of these cases, who've been down this road many a times, to see that you are adequately compensated and that you accomplish some measure of justice for the horrible experience that you're going through. If you've had the terrible circumstance, the terrible experience of losing a loved one, this interrupts everything about your life and your family's life in a myriad of ways, in many ways. You can experience a dramatic loss of earnings from that other person who is now no longer part of your life. It can affect your ability to meet your household budget. You can be confronted with medical expenses from this unfortunate event, whatever it may be it a car accident, a farm accident, or even a construction accident, or any other way that someone else's negligence caused you to lose a family member. So there's a whole category, a whole array of damages that can stem from an unfortunate accident like this. Some of them are loss of earnings. That's a pretty easy one to understand. The medical expenses, which I just mentioned. There are other types of damages too that are a little harder to understand. For example, If your loved one had an experience where they lost their life in a car accident or some other accident, when they saw it happening or they lived for a while afterwards, they may have endured tremendous pain. They may have had tremendous fear about what's happening. I don't think anyone who's ever been on a flight and we go through the instructions and hear the thing about stuff dropping down from the ceiling, I think we can all imagine what it would be like to face our death and know it's coming. That is compensable as part of a wrongful death claim. That's just one of many types of damages that you can recover through a skillfully brought wrongful death claim. Loss of earning capacity, the impact on potential inheritance down the road, lots of things like that are recoverable in a wrongful death claim. Again, it's extremely important that you retain and get advice from experienced counsel who have gone through this many times to make sure that you are adequately compensated and that you achieve some sort of fairness, some sort of justice for the horrible experience that you're going through. We're often asked, wait, I've lost a relative, I've lost a loved one, can I bring a wrongful death claim? And the answer is, depends on the circumstance, depends on your family structure. The most common circumstance in wrongful death cases is a spouse who lost their husband or wife or domestic partner. That's very straightforward. If you're married and you lose someone in an accident, a car accident, a farming accident, a construction accident, you absolutely can bring a wrongful death claim. However, if it's a single person who is the deceased, there may be children involved, either a minor child or an adult child. Those people can bring a wrongful death case. If there are no children, it can be a parent, an adult parent, who can bring a wrongful death case. And barring that, even a sibling, a brother or sister, can bring a wrongful death case if there is no one else that is surviving the accident. So it's very common to see any number of people that are related to someone who passed away bring a wrongful death case. Again, the most common, though, is a spouse who's had the unfortunate experience of losing their loved one and is now adrift and lost and not sure what to do. Again, it's very important, please, to make sure that you get good counsel in that situation, get good advice, and hire a firm that has lots of experience handling these kind of cases. We at Atterbury, Cameron, Hague have been down this road so many times, have walked this road with many clients who've lost loved ones. It's difficult, it's emotional, it's challenging, but it's important that you get good advice and good counsel so you can get to the other end of this and get at least that part of the tragedy behind you.